There comes a moment in every life when the dream begins to rot inside the comfort zone. You can feel it, that quiet ache in your soul when you know you were meant for more, yet you keep waiting for the right time, the right energy, the right feeling. But that moment never comes, because life does not reward hesitation, it rewards movement. The truth is, action does not come after motivation, it creates it. You do not wait for the fire, you strike the flint. You do not wait for the storm to pass, you step into the rain and learn how to move through it. Discipline, not desire, is what transforms lives. Every master you have ever admired once stood where you are now, filled with doubt, fear, excuses, and uncertainty. The only difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is that they forced themselves to move forward when everything inside them screamed to stay still. When you force yourself to take action, something sacred happens inside you. You stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and become the commander of your mind. You stop asking "what if I fail?" and start answering "I will learn." You stop waiting for clarity and realize that clarity comes through movement, not meditation alone. The path reveals itself only to those who walk it. You may not see the entire staircase, but taking the first step begins a transformation that no amount of thinking ever could. Your mind resists because it seeks safety. Your spirit demands growth because it seeks purpose. Every day you choose one over the other. You either build strength or surrender to weakness. The moment you act despite fear, you awaken your inner warrior, that silent, unstoppable force buried beneath layers of laziness, doubt, and overthinking. Every time you push yourself when you don't feel like it, you break one more chain of self-limitation. You train your mind to obey your higher will. The body follows the mind and the mind follows the spirit. When you act, you tell the universe that you are ready to participate in your destiny, not just wish for it. It is through deliberate action that energy flows, opportunities unfold, and transformation begins. You don't need motivation to start, you need to start to find motivation. Move before you are ready. Speak before you feel confident. Create before you know how, because life belongs to the doers, not the dreamers. One action taken in discomfort outweighs 100 thoughts born in comfort. You will fail, you will fall, you will doubt. But each time you rise, your spirit grows sharper, your will becomes stronger, and your fear loses its hold. The path of mastery begins not with knowledge, but with courage. And courage is nothing more than action in the presence of fear. So when the weight of laziness presses down, when your mind whispers excuses, when your comfort zone seduces you into stillness, move anyway. Force yourself to take action, not because it is easy, but because it is the only way to evolve. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a declaration. I am alive. I am willing. I am becoming. There will be mornings when you wake up and feel absolutely nothing. No spark, no energy, no drive. Just a quiet emptiness whispering, not today. And in that moment you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to comfort, the other to growth. The difference between those who build greatness and those who merely dream about it lies in what happens next. The great ones move. They act not because they feel like it, but because they have trained themselves to do what must be done, no matter how they feel. That is the power of discipline, a force far stronger, steadier, and more sacred than fleeting motivation. Motivation is a visitor. It knocks on your door when conditions are perfect, when the weather is pleasant, the mood is high, and the path seems clear. But discipline is a companion. It stays with you even in the storm. Motivation feeds on excitement, but discipline thrives in silence. It shows up when the body is tired, when the heart is uncertain, when the results are invisible. It whispers, "Do it anyway." And when you listen to that whisper, you awaken a power inside you that no amount of inspiration can match. Think of the mountain climber who faces freezing winds and aching muscles. Motivation may have started the journey, but it is discipline that takes every step through the pain. Think of the artist who wakes before dawn to create when no one is watching. Think of the monk who sits in stillness for hours, mastering his breath while the mind rebels. None of them rely on the thrill of feeling ready, they rely on the structure of discipline. Because discipline doesn't ask if you feel like it. It simply demands that you show up. You see, when you rely on motivation, you become a servant to your emotions. When you build discipline, you become the master of them. Motivation comes from the outside, a video, a speech, a sunrise, a success story. But discipline is born within. It is the voice that says, even if I don't see the results today, I will still do the work. Even if I fail, I will try again. Even if no one claps, I will still keep walking. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about persistence. The sacred repetition of effort that sharpens your soul into something unbreakable. Every act of discipline is like a seed planted in the dark. You may not see it grow immediately, but one day it breaks through the soil with quiet strength. And when that happens, you realize that all those mornings you forced yourself out of bed, all those nights you kept going when your mind begged you to stop, were not wasted. They were the foundation of your transformation. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement, between potential and reality. The truth is, you will not always be inspired. You will not always feel strong. But that is not the point. The point is to move anyway. To act not because you are ready, but because you have made a promise to yourself. A promise that your future will not be built on moods but on mastery. When you live this way, you no longer chase motivation, you embody it. You become the example others look to when their own energy fades. So tomorrow, when you wake up and the voice of resistance begins to whisper again, don't argue with it. Don't wait for the perfect feeling. Simply move. Breathe, act. Let your steps be your statement. Because discipline, unlike motivation, does not flicker and fade. It burns slow, steady, and eternal. And once you light that fire within, nothing in this world can extinguish it. You cannot think your way into clarity. You must move your way into it. The truth is, life does not reveal itself to those who stand still waiting for the fog to lift. It reveals itself to those who step forward, even when the path is unclear. You can spend months, even years, waiting for the perfect sign, the perfect plan, the perfect timing. But clarity does not come from waiting. It comes from walking. It comes from walking. It comes from walking. It comes from doing. It comes from daring to take a single step in faith when your mind demands certainty. Imagine a traveler standing before a forest trail shrouded in mist. He cannot see the path beyond a few feet. He hesitates, hoping the fog will clear, but it never does. Yet when he finally takes one step forward, the path unfolds just a little more, and with each step, the next few feet appear. That is how life works. You will never see the entire road before you, because it's not meant to be seen, it's meant to be walked. Clarity is not a gift the universe gives to the cautious, it is the reward it grants to the courageous. You see, most people wait to feel ready before they act. They believe that once they understand everything, then they'll begin. But waiting for certainty is the surest way to waste your life. The truth is, action creates understanding. Every movement you make, every small experiment, every failed attempt, every risk taken, sharpens your awareness of what works and what doesn't. You do not need to have the answers to begin. You begin to find the answers. The path of growth is not about predicting the future. It's about participating in it. When you act, you activate forces within and around you that thought alone can never awaken. Your energy changes. Your focus sharpens. The world responds. Opportunities begin to appear that were invisible when you were standing still. Even your failures become signposts, guiding you closer to what is true. But when you refuse to move, life cannot meet you halfway. It cannot guide a ship that never leaves the harbor. You can study the maps forever, but the waves will only teach you once you set sail. You may fear that action without clarity will lead to mistakes, but mistakes are not the opposite of progress. Inaction is, you learn more from one step taken in uncertainty than from 1,000 perfect plans that never leave your mind. Action has its own intelligence. It refines you, humbles you, teaches you. It turns confusion into insight, fear into courage, and doubt into direction. You can't think your way into becoming the person you are meant to be. You must act your way into it. So the next time you feel lost or uncertain, don't wait for the fog to lift. Move anyway. Do something, anything, that aligns with your heart, even if it feels small. Write the first line. Make the first call. Take the first breath of courage. Because once you move, the energy shifts. And once the energy shifts, clarity begins to form like sunlight piercing through the mist. In the end, clarity does not come before movement. It comes because of it. You will never know the entire way, but you don't need to. All you need is the courage to take one honest step forward, for the path you seek is not out there waiting to be found. It is waiting to be created, by your action, your persistence, and your faith. So move now, even if you cannot see it all. The next step will always reveal itself to the one who walks. You keep waiting for that moment when everything will make sense, when the fog will clear, when the path will light up, when your heart will suddenly whisper, "Now I understand." But that moment never truly comes, because life was never designed to hand you clarity before you move. Life gives understanding to those who earn it through experience. You cannot think your way into certainty. You must act your way into it. The mind will always demand more time, more information, more science. Yet the truth is simple. Action is the only thing that cuts through confusion. Imagine standing before a vast ocean at night. You cannot see the horizon, only darkness stretching infinitely ahead. You have a boat, an oar, and the quiet fear of not knowing where you'll end up. You can stand on the shore forever, trying to calculate the currents and predict the stars. Or you can take one stroke forward. The moment your oar touches the water, something shifts. The stars begin to align in your favor. The rhythm of the waves begins to teach you. Movement reveals direction. Every action becomes a lantern, lighting the path one flicker at a time. You see, clarity is not found in the mind. It is discovered in the process of doing. You may not know what step 10 looks like, but step 1 is always in front of you. When you take it, your perspective expands. You see things you couldn't from where you stood. Every experience, even the ones that feel like mistakes, becomes part of the unfolding map that leads you closer to truth. The world only responds to movement. When you stand still, nothing happens. But when you act, life starts to whisper back, "Yes, this way." Most people never begin because they are trapped in the illusion of preparation. They wait to feel ready, but readiness is a mirage. It appears only after you begin walking toward it. You learn to speak by speaking. You learn to lead by leading. You learn to live by living. Thought without action is like a seed locked inside a box. It has potential, but it will never grow. It needs soil, air, and time. It needs movement. So too does your purpose. Do not fear the unknown, for it is not your enemy. The unknown is the ground where wisdom grows. Each uncertain step shapes your awareness, builds your strength, and awakens your intuition. You cannot discover your purpose while sitting in stillness. You discover it when you stumble, adapt, and rise again. Action does not always give you the answer you wanted, but it always gives you the lesson you needed. It is the teacher that thought alone can never replace. When you finally decide to move, not because you have all the answers, but because you refuse to stay stagnant, you step into alignment with the natural rhythm of life. Rivers do not wait for permission to flow. Seeds do not wait for certainty before they break open. The universe expands through movement, and so must you. Your clarity will come like dawn, slowly, quietly, beautifully, but only if you dare to walk through the dark. So stop asking for a perfect plan. Stop waiting for the moment when fear disappears. Begin where you are, with what you have, and trust that the next step will show itself once you take the first. Every movement forward brings light. Every act of courage dissolves confusion. The truth is already within you, but it will only rise to the surface when you act. Remember this always: clarity is not the reward for knowing. It is the result of doing. Fear grows in stillness, When you stop moving, it begins to whisper. When you hesitate, it begins to build walls around your heart, and the longer you wait, the louder it becomes. Fear feeds on your inaction. It multiplies in the quiet spaces between your thoughts, convincing you that danger is everywhere and that you are not ready. But the moment you move, the moment you take even one step toward what frightens you, the illusion begins to crumble. Motion destroys fear, because fear cannot survive in the presence of action. Think of fear as a shadow. When you stand still, the shadow looms large and intimidating. But when you begin to walk toward the light, it starts to shrink. Every step you take forward brings you closer to the truth that fear was never as powerful as it pretended to be. It only appeared real when you stood still long enough to give it shape. Movement exposes its weakness. Action is light. Hesitation is darkness, and the smallest spark of courage can pierce through the deepest night of doubt. You see, fear is not an enemy to be fought. It is a signal, a sign that you are standing on the edge of growth. It shows up when something inside you is ready to expand beyond what is familiar. But the mind misinterprets this signal and turns it into paralysis. You begin to overthink, to imagine what could go wrong, to seek guarantees before you leap. And yet the only guarantee that exists is this: if you do not move, nothing will change. The energy of life rewards movement. Once you act, your body awakens, your mind refocuses, and your heart steadies. The fear that once felt overwhelming begins to dissolve under the weight of your own momentum. Have you ever noticed how fear feels strongest right before you act? Before the speech, before the decision, before the first step. That is when the voice of fear screams the loudest. But the instant you begin, something magical happens. Your attention shifts from what if to what is. You stop imagining danger and start meeting reality. And in that meeting, you discover that fear was just an illusion created by your imagination. A fog that disappears when touched by the warmth of motion. Even nature teaches this truth. Water that flows remains pure. Water that stagnates grows dark and foul. The same is true of your spirit. When you stay in motion, learning, growing, acting, your energy stays alive. But when you allow fear to freeze you, you begin to decay inside. You lose faith in your own potential, and your dreams begin to rot in the stillness. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to stop moving despite it. The more you act, the smaller fear becomes. Each time you confront it, its power weakens until one day it bows before your persistence. Fear cannot hold on to a moving target. It chases you only when you stop running toward your destiny. The moment you begin again, fear loses its grip because the rhythm of motion drowns out the noise of doubt. So when fear rises within you, do not retreat into thought. Do not seek safety in over-planning. Simply move, take one step, one breath, one action that defies the paralysis. You will feel your strength return the moment you do. Life favors those who move forward despite trembling hands and racing hearts. Because movement is truth, and truth always silences fear. Let your steps be your declaration that fear does not own you. When you move, you reclaim your power. When you act, you awaken the warrior within. And when you keep moving, no matter how uncertain, how scared or how slow, you realize the most liberating truth of all: fear cannot live where movement exists. Comfort is the most beautiful poison you will ever taste. It enters your life quietly, disguised as peace, disguised as rest, disguised as the feeling of "I'm okay where I am." But slowly it drains your strength, dulls your spirit, and lulls your dreams into silence. You don't even notice it happening. You wake up one day realizing that your fire has dimmed, that your hunger has faded, that you've become a shadow of what you once wanted to be. Comfort doesn't destroy you all at once. It kills you softly through years of small, easy choices. You see, comfort feels safe, and that is why it's dangerous. It tricks you into believing that stillness means stability, that avoiding discomfort means you are protecting yourself. But the truth is, every living thing grows only when it is challenged. The seed must break to become a tree. The muscle must tear to grow stronger. The spirit must face resistance to expand. Comfort denies you this sacred process. It gives you warmth but steals your wings, and one day when you need to rise, you'll find that the very thing that once made you feel safe has become your cage. Imagine a bird born inside a golden cage. It has everything: food, safety, and shelter. It never has to face the storm or the hunger of the wild. But deep inside, something is missing. Its wings ache, not from use, but from the lack of it. That bird represents the soul that chooses comfort over courage. It lives, yes, but it never truly flies. And the tragedy is not that it cannot. It's that it never tried. You too were not born to live behind the bars of ease. You were born to soar through uncertainty, to face winds of change, and to feel your own strength awaken through struggle. Comfort whispers lies in your ear. It says you've done enough. It says tomorrow will be better. It tells you to rest when you haven't yet earned peace. It makes you believe that waiting is wisdom, that safety is success. But life does not reward the ones who hide from growth. It rewards the ones who step into the unknown and trust themselves to adapt. Every great transformation begins the moment you choose to break free from comfort's embrace. You will never discover your power in the easy moments. Growth lives in discomfort, in the challenge, the failure, the uncertainty. It is there, in those moments when your mind screams to retreat, that your true self is born. Each time you step beyond what feels familiar, you shed another layer of weakness. Each time you push past comfort, you invite the energy of life to flow through you again. Comfort stagnates. Challenge awakens. You can feel it. The pulse of your own potential beating louder whenever you dare to move beyond what's easy. So look around your life. Ask yourself, where have I settled? Where have I stopped growing because it feels too safe? The answers will make you uncomfortable, and that discomfort is your map. It points directly toward your next evolution. The mind seeks comfort, but the soul seeks expansion. And if you keep choosing what's easy, you will betray the very reason you were born. The real danger is not failure. The real danger is living comfortably in mediocrity, never discovering how powerful you truly are. Comfort may keep you alive, but it will never let you live. So step out even if it hurts, even if it's uncertain. Let the fire of discomfort purify you. Let it strip away the layers of fear and laziness until what remains is pure strength. Because once you walk beyond comfort, you do not lose peace. You find a deeper one, the kind that comes from knowing you faced your fears, embraced your growth, and honored your potential. Remember this truth: comfort is a silent killer, but courage is the breath of life. Choose courage, and you will never die before your time. Confidence is not built in a single victory. It is forged in the quiet repetition of effort when no one is watching. You will not wake up one day suddenly believing in yourself. Belief is something you earn through consistency. Every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it. You send a message to your own spirit. I can rely on myself. That is where true confidence begins. It does not come from applause, approval, or achievements. It comes from the daily discipline of doing what you said you would do. Think of a mountain. It doesn't rise overnight. It forms through time, pressure, and persistence. Tiny layers building upon each other until they become something unshakable. Your confidence is the same. Every small action, every practice, every promise kept adds another layer to your foundation. It doesn't matter how slow your progress is. What matters is that you keep moving. Because consistency is not about speed, it's about trust. When you act consistently, you teach yourself that you are dependable. And when you trust yourself, fear loses its power. So many people wait for confidence before they begin. They think, once I feel sure of myself, then I'll act. But that is the greatest trap. Confidence does not come before action. It comes from action. You build it through repetition, through showing up again and again, especially when doubt tries to pull you away. Confidence is not a gift, it is a result. And consistency is the bridge that gets you there. Each day you show up, even imperfectly. You reinforce the belief that you are capable. Each time you follow through, your inner voice grows stronger, calmer, more certain. You may not notice it at first. Change rarely announces itself, but over time something subtle shifts. Tasks that once felt overwhelming become easier. Goals that once seemed impossible now feel within reach. You stop questioning whether you can, because your past actions have already proven that you will. That is the power of consistency. It transforms effort into identity. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are strong, disciplined, or confident. You have lived it enough times to become it. Think of the musician who practices daily, the athlete who trains in silence, the student who studies long after others have given up. None of them rely on bursts of inspiration. They build their rhythm. They show up no matter how they feel, and through that rhythm they develop mastery, not only over their craft but over themselves. Their confidence is quiet but unshakable, born from the certainty that they have earned every ounce of their progress. You can cultivate this same strength in any area of your life. It doesn't matter how small your steps are. What matters is that you take them every single day. Even 5 minutes of honest effort will plant a seed in your mind that says, I am growing. Consistency compounds like interest. Small deposits of effort made over time turn into something powerful, something permanent. The days you think don't matter are the days that matter most, because those are the days you prove your discipline to yourself. You won't always feel motivated, but if you stay consistent, you will always feel capable. And that feeling, that quiet knowing, is worth more than any external validation. Because when you trust yourself, the opinions of others lose their hold. When you trust yourself, failure becomes feedback, not defeat. When you trust yourself, you no longer chase confidence, you embody it. So keep showing up, keep practicing, keep building, even when it's slow, even when it's silent, even when it feels invisible, because every time you do, you are laying another brick in the fortress of your confidence. Someday you will look back and realize that the person you've become was built by thousands of small, consistent moments when you could have stopped, but didn't. And in that moment you will understand this truth completely. Consistency doesn't just build confidence, it builds you. You keep waiting for the energy to begin, but it never comes. You tell yourself you'll start when you feel ready, when you're more awake, more inspired, more alive. Yet days pass and still, nothing changes. The secret that no one tells you is this: energy does not come first, action does. Energy follows movement, not the other way around. You cannot sit in stillness and expect motivation to descend upon you. You must move first. You must create your own spark, and once you do, life begins to respond. Think of a fire. It doesn't start with warmth, it starts with friction. The spark is born from effort, from striking one stone against another. Only after you act does the flame appear. The same is true of your energy. It awakens only when you move toward your purpose. The body, the mind, the spirit, all of them are waiting for you to begin. The longer you stay still, the heavier you feel. But the moment you take that first step, even the smallest one, the energy begins to rise and momentum starts to carry you forward. You may not feel like doing it. You may feel tired, unmotivated,